than 50 years later, his identity remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. This is the terrifying story of the Zodiac Killer. The story begins on December 20, 1968, near Vallejo, California. Two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were parked on a quiet road enjoying what should have been an ordinary evening together. Suddenly, an unknown gunman approached their car. Within moments, both teenagers had been shot. David died inside the vehicle, multiple gunshot wounds. At first, investigators believed it was simply another unsolved double homicide. They had no idea it was only the beginning. 7 months later, on July 4, 1969, another young couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, were sitting in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park. A vehicle pulled in behind them. The driver briefly left, then returned a few minutes later. He walked toward the couple, carrying a flashlight. Without warning, he opened fire. Darlene was killed. Michael survived, despite suffering multiple gunshot wounds. Less than an hour after the attack, a man calmly called the police from a nearby payphone. He confessed to both shootings. The caller showed no emotion. He simply gave directions to the crime scene and hung up. Then everything changed. Weeks later, 3 California newspapers received nearly identical letters. Each envelope contained 1/3 of a coded message. The anonymous writer demanded that the letters be published on the front page, threatening to kill again if they were ignored. At the bottom of each letter was a strange symbol, a circle crossed by a vertical and horizontal line. For the first time, the mysterious murderer gave himself a name: the Zodiac. The newspapers published the letters. Soon afterward, a high school teacher and his wife successfully solved the first cipher. Although it did not reveal the killer's identity, it contained disturbing statements about how much he enjoyed killing people. The message shocked the nation. Yet the killer remained anonymous. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac changed his method. Near Lake Berryessa, he approached another young couple wearing an eerie black executioner's hood, marked with his signature symbol. He tied up both victims before repeatedly stabbing them. One victim survived, and later described the killer in chilling detail. Before leaving, the Zodiac walked to the victim's car and wrote the dates of his previous attacks on the door, along with his symbol. It was his way of signing the crime scene. Only weeks later, on October 11, 1969, the Zodiac entered San Francisco. He hailed a taxi driven by Paul Stein. Instead of arriving at the requested destination, the killer shot Stein in the head, stole part of his blood-stained shirt, and escaped into the night. Witnesses saw him leaving the scene. Police officers even came within blocks of capturing him. Because of a communication error, they were searching for the wrong suspect description. The Zodiac slipped away. Days later, another letter arrived. Inside was a piece of Paul Stein's shirt. It proved beyond doubt that the Zodiac had committed the murder. Over the following years, dozens of letters arrived at newspapers and police departments. Some contained cryptic messages, others included threats. Several featured complex ciphers that remained unsolved for decades. Thousands of detectives worked on the investigation. Hundreds of suspects were questioned. Fingerprints, handwriting samples, witness statements, and forensic evidence were collected. Despite one of the largest criminal investigations in American history, no suspect was ever charged with the Zodiac murders. Many names have been suggested over the years. Some investigators believe the killer was Arthur Lee Allen. Others proposed entirely different suspects. However, none of the available evidence has been sufficient to prove guilt in court. As a result, the Zodiac Killer has never been legally identified. In 2020, an international international team of codebreakers successfully solved one of the Zodiac's most famous ciphers after it had remained unsolved for more than 50 years. Surprisingly, the message revealed no name. Instead, it continued the killer's disturbing psychological games. Today, the Zodiac Killer remains one of the most infamous unidentified serial killers in history. His crimes inspired books, documentaries, television series, and major Hollywood films. Yet the biggest question remains unanswered. Who was the Zodiac Killer? Did he die without revealing his identity? Or is the truth still waiting to be discovered? More than half a century later, the mystery lives on. And perhaps somewhere, hidden among forgotten evidence, lies the final clue that could solve one of America's greatest criminal mysteries.